This is Futurist Valley Podcast, and in this episode our guest Steve Ardire and host Sarah will be discussing about, will augmented intelligence become the future of healthcare? Let's hop on.
Okay, hello everyone. So welcome to the Futurist Valley Podcast where we explore the latest innovations and trends shaping our future. I am your host, Peracha, with the background in tech and innovation. I have spent years delving into the world of AI, AR, fintech, and other cutting-edge technologies. Through this podcast, I aim to bring you insights from industry leaders and visionaries, helping you stay ahead in the rapidly evolving landscape of the future. Today's podcast is Will Augmented Intelligence Become the Future of Healthcare? In this episode, we will explore the transformative potential of augmented intelligence in healthcare. We will discuss how AI is currently being applied, its benefits and challenges, and we will try to make it a bit short because it's a very long, lengthy topic. And we have today Steve Ardire with us, a distinguished advisor and strategist in the AI and the tech industry. With over 3 decades of experience, Steve has been instrumental in shaping the strategies of numerous AI startups. His deep expertise in AI and augmented intelligence combined with his keen insight into market trends makes him an invaluable voice in the discussions of AI's transformative potential in healthcare. Okay. So, hi, Steve. Would you like to add something more
Hello.
about you?
Actually, I'll just add another, in addition to what you did, and thank you for the introduction. So you're right. I've been a startup advisor for 3 decades, 15 of which are in AI. And over the last 5 years, I've really narrowed my aperture to healthcare and wellness focus, digital therapeutics, and neurotech. And I mostly advise early stage startups. I actually enjoy, the outliers, the underestimated startups. That's kind of like my favorite bucket because there's, if you find the right ones, and we'll talk about more about them, you can, I can leverage my relationship capital with a brand and help them scale faster, better, smarter. So with that said, that's my only add-on to your intro.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start with the topic. So can you give a very short intro about this topic? How you wanted to continue with this one? I'm just leaving it to you in the start.
Sure. So the topic is, augmented intelligence will become the future work in healthcare. I actually, a little bit of a background, I started using augmented intelligence at a IBM event in 2018. So that's 6 years ago. People were just saying, what do you mean? It's augmented intelligence. So at that time, it was like kind of a novel concept. I mean, not to say that I came up with the phraseology. You've actually had people like Doug Engelbart back in the late 1960s that did one of the best demos. It was called the mother of all demos. This was when he was at Xerox PARC, and this was the predecessor to Steve Jobs at Apple. And I do recall reading that Jobs, really locked onto this, and rather than Xerox PARC becoming the new Apple, Jobs took a lot of that thinking and rolled it into Apple Computer. But what the takeaway from Doug Engelbart was, and this is 1968, technology should not aim to replace humans, rather amplify human capabilities. So rather than having a long, discussion, the short version of that is augmented intelligence. And what it really means in a nutshell is humans working with machines. And now that AI and generative AI especially is like everywhere out there, including co-pilots and other instantiations of it, you're now getting quite a bit of adoptions in healthcare using
Right.
AI and augmented intelligence. So I did a webinar last August on augmented intelligence become the future work in healthcare. And in 8 months, there's been so many updates because AI really operates in dog years rather than usual years, and it's so accelerated right now. And it was actually the timing, Sarah, on this was perfect because it needed a refresh, and I want to accentuate some of the areas that I was to me it was too hospital centric in my webinar last summer, and I want to make it, really kind of updated to elements of how empowered consumers can, through their own volition, be able to, to glom onto this and be able to adopt it for their own specific needs. And that's what I want to, mostly address in this webinar. So I just want to give a couple of a quick recap of some of the highlights of the webinar I did last August.
Awesome.
Is 99, almost 100% of clinicians agree that using AI to improve administration and streamline business processes and workflows will free up more time for interaction with patients, which is really the missing ingredient. Today, when you go to a specialist or even a general practitioner, you've got 5 to 10 minutes because that's the way the system works today. I know in the US, I'm sure it's similar in other countries. And, you either come in, depending on what your condition is, but if you really have a chronic condition, you really don't have a lot of time. And what we do, my wife and I do, is that we prep hard and we want to ask, deep questions to understand what the avenue, the options are and the avenues, and the more complexity, like autoimmune diseases, those are really tough to decipher. It could take, a couple of years, if not more. And there's a lot of trials and tribulations in this journey. So I'll touch upon that downstream in the discussion. But the other big
I have a
takeaway
question.
was,
Yeah,
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
Sorry for interrupting you, but I have a question that maybe you can
Mhm,
get it later. That
mhm.
who you think is more, who you think is more giving us in a better changes way? Like, is AI performing better in this field, or is human are we going to take human as performing more better in this field right now after after incorporating with the artificial intelligence? How would you like to define this scenario overall after entering this whole artificial intelligence into it?
Right. So the answer to that is you're using AI to help clinicians analyze data to identify patterns and anomalies, especially in areas where humans alone, the hard problems, harder chronic diseases, like I mentioned, like an autoimmune. So if you can actually have the AI be your digital, you know, physician assistant or nurse practitioner, right? You can actually, the first stage is, and we've all, I'm sure in our respective families and friends, the misdiagnoses, right? Wow, that has really significant ramifications if you miss, like, early stages of cognitive decline, right? Before which precedes Alzheimer's. That's huge. If you can have earlier detection of
Yeah.
forms of cancer, right? So really what you're doing is with the AI or augmented intelligence is that you're improving the diagnosis that could lead to faster and improved treatment options, right? But you still need a clinician in the loop. You don't want to like allow, and this gets kind of like scary, where um, and I'm just going to pick on OpenAI here, especially in complex fields like healthcare. You're on a slippery slope. I'll talk more about that in the next segment here.
Sure.
But you really want a clinician in the loop. It's not meant to replace doctors. It will, if you're doing procedural work, right? Streamlining business processes, workflows, that's all good. But when it comes down to treatment recommendations, you don't want to like 100% default to the AI engine because they might have missed something. There might be some biases, the and some flawed recommendations. So let's talk about the top use cases over the next 2 to 3 years. So
Mm.
definitely analyzing patient data, right, for risk stratification, sort of like tying it to triage system, right? There's a lot of work in terms of improving clinical documentation and decision support tools, which is terrific because again, you want to free up more time for patient interaction. That's been the missing ingredient for quite a while now. So generative AI, the net will enable better diagnosis, decision making, and treatment to improve outcomes. For the areas of who, what, where, when, and how. But where the slippery slope comes in is the why. That's the hard one to crack. So large language models, even though with the updates with OpenAI and Google Gemini and others, and there's more than just those two. I mean, from Anthropic, Claude 3, the leaders of that group are ex OpenAI. You have specific healthcare players like with Hippocratic AI, which I think is commendable. So it isn't just I mean the marketing and of OpenAI in Google and even with Microsoft, of course, with 10 billion investment in OpenAI. I just want to make the point that there's other players out there. So due diligence, in terms of choosing the right language model is important. Now, the thing I want to make regarding to the why, the point is LLMs, large language models, still do not have common sense understanding like humans do.
Wait, Sarah. What is LLM?
LLM is large language models, which is a type of machine learning model, and it can perform a variety of natural languages tasks. It's a deep learning algorithm.
They have no general understanding of what's true or false. So on the training, even though they're addressing, elements of this, there's still a lot of there really isn't evidence-based reasoning to the degree, especially that you need for explainability. So that's why you've got to be a little bit cognizant on on misleading, bias, faulty, or just plain false. So especially in healthcare, I mean, we're not in content production where it's a blend of misleading, misinformation, you can get away with that. But when you're dealing with human lives and the clinical risk, look out. You've got to be very, very diligent about that.
Yeah, it is. It is really hard to even, imagine ourselves to just leaving ourselves over the artificial intelligence or machines and forgetting about humans all sudden. It
Right.
seems like a nightmare if you just talk about it without having human over there.
Exactly. So that's why I'm really adamant, on really highlighting the clinical risks, Sarah, and really, making sure that you do have the treatment recommendation the AI will help guide the doctor, or the specialist, but that person, he or she, needs to, and again, I mean, that's why you still have like second opinions, if you're really unsure about the guidance that you're getting from your specialist or your clinician. So just to I had some really good poll questions in the webinar last August, one of them that I always highlight,
Mm-hmm.
regularly is will healthcare clinics become the primary care for Americans and other countries versus hospitals? And the reason I say that is right now, the cash cow are specialists, neurologists, spine
Right.
surgeons, gastroenterologists, right? So is that really primary care? To me, it's more specialty care. So in many respects, and I'll restate it what I said last year, is I really think AI in general practice in clinics has one of the best upsides for digital physician assistants, where you can really diagnose and access better, faster, better, smarter. I'm going to elaborate on that. The other what I really want to focus on in this is really some of the key problems with generative AI. There's a number of them. They have, since a number of those issues are being addressed. So I'm just going to focus on 3 of like 10 that I alluded to last year. Now, what is not solved still is hallucinations. Okay. So it's a big problem, hallucinations. So Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, said last year that hallucinations are part of the magic. Wait a second. What do you mean? What do you mean part of the
Yeah, it's
magic?
the secret ingredient.
The secret. Let's not praise inaccuracy as creativity. This is the thing that's infuriating out there with these large language models. Now,
Mm-hmm.
human brains can freewheel, generative ideation without mistaking imagination for fact, which is not the case for large language models. So really, tripping, just like you do on psychedelics, might be a better term than hallucinations for such errors in judgment. So that's why I say you really got to be cognizant of the potential of clinical risks. So I already covered, the lack of explainability. So let's move to regulation. Okay.
Right.
So the
That's a huge topic.
EU,
Regulations is like it's
huge
a huge
topic,
topic. Yeah.
huge topic. So the EU adopted the AI Act, and I think they are now setting the global standard for governing AI. Now the rest of the world needs to catch up. Now in this country, right, in the US, they're letting OpenAI, Google, Microsoft to kind of self-regulate, which is kind of comedic, all right? You've got to have, because of the amount of money. I mean, the lobby, I used to be, we used to talk about the tobacco lobby and the pharma lobby. Now you've got the AI lobby. Now, recently, like this week, a bipartisan group of senators released a much anticipated plan in hopes of moving a little bit further than just self-regulation. And regarding AI in healthcare, they want to ensure that the Department of Health and Human Services has the tools it needs to understand the risk and benefits. So it's more than going to, the muckety mucks going to Congress and have to sit through a discussion or a grilling, right? And nothing ever happens out of that. They just show up, they do their thing, but they're not held accountable, right? And it's almost a joke today, right? So the thing about it is, with the speed of this moving in AI, the FDA commissioner, and other agencies, they don't have the personnel to adequately police. They don't have the data scientists, machine, to that is constantly evolving, right? And it's way faster than drugs and medical devices. So it's really quite the challenge. So yes, they can put in, roadmaps for billions of funding for research and development across agencies, including National Institutes of Health. But it comes back right down to, it still needs guidance in terms of the bias in the algorithms, the mitigating of effects of errant systems like tripping or hallucinations. And so is it a step in the right directions? Yes. Is it a comprehensive solution? No, it isn't. So the other thing about it is this fetish with large language models. It isn't always better. And here's a couple of reasons why small language models can be superior depending on the problem you're addressing. So one of the issues is inverse scalings. So LLMs have trouble with redefinition, meaning that if it isn't overtraining or undertraining, but if you're redefining a commonly used concept that kind of throws off the model's ability to reason with the new definition, the LLMs have difficulties being recorrected to the right path. So they're less flexible and more confined, and that could be a problem. And another issue is as the AI continues to evolve, right? You're starting to see this formative shift to increase development of smaller, more efficient models that offer a better balance of performance, cost, that's a big issue at LLMs, and usability. Right. So just a couple of points there. Okay. So go ahead, Sarah.
Where you see LLM in the next 3 years, like, because it's changing every day nowadays. So where do you see it? Is there any prediction you already have? Will it be any changes over the cost, make it more easier for everybody to use and try?
Yes, I think that is what you just stated for sure. In fact, the latest updates to OpenAI that they announced this week, and the same thing with Google Gemini. The whole thing, what they're really good at is managing tasks, right? Is really assisting humans in addressing workflow and tasks where they can, can be more productive, right? You don't have to do as much research. You don't have to do, if you can do like a summary, rather than just going through, multiple, searches or going through your emails, it could thread all that together on topicality. So it's really for content generation, top notch. But when you're getting to, again, the complexity, of healthcare, where there's a lot of moving parts, in terms of the EMR, EHR, I mean, the best, instantiations of AI in healthcare is still in the diagnosis, in imaging. And that is pretty much, a given. But to get into prescriptive analytics and treatment recommendations, and I'm going to talk about this in this next segment on why healthcare systems, especially the U.S. healthcare system, is broken. So 93% of Americans say their healthcare is not worth its cost. And when you look at other countries, right, on a per capita basis, the U.S. is spending per capita over $10,000, right, a year, healthcare spending per capita, and the life expectancy of the U.S. is 77 years. When you look at Japan, $4,300, life expectancy 85. Germany, about a little over $5 grand, 81 years. And let's get to Middle East, UAE, 1,878 years. So here's the thing that I really want to start, and this is the new updates to the webinar, right? At the end of the day, medical systems are in the sick care business to put people on drugs, not take them off. Yeah, that's what it really comes down to. They're in the sick care business. And preventative care or value-based care, you know, they talk about it, but the implementation, I mean, when you really look at it, that's where they're making their money, on spine surgery, on, other types of complex, specialties. It should really be the specialty, business, rather than, that's where they operate and that's where they make their money. And the other thing that we've seen in this country is the private equity firms now own over 30% of physician practices in some markets, and you're getting significant price increases in like almost all the specialties. So that's why another reason why the healthcare system's broken. One of the big overlooked areas, Sarah, is social determinants of health. Are you familiar with the term?
Uh,
SDOH, yeah.
yeah.
So social determinants of health um, uh, are non-medical factors that influence health outcomes. They include things like, psychosocial behavior characteristics, living and working conditions, your access to housing, medical care, or I should say unequal medical care, stigma and racism. The thing about social determinants of health, they drive 80 to 90% of health outcomes and would improve the health of individuals and communities across the board to decrease the pressure on doctors to treating, medical conditions stemming from unhealthy environments, but it's really not being addressed correctly. So when you look at, EMR, EHR, they're just really giving you a snapshot of what your issue is, whether it be, spine surgery, but they don't have any of the connectivity to look at the holistic picture. What I mean by that? What are the social effects, the psychological effects, the biological, physical health, drug effects, temperament, your mental health? It's seeing the forest through the trees rather than just the trees through the forest. And 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 EHRs are really glorified billing systems for CPT codes, right, that
Mm-hmm.
identify the services rendered, and ICD-10 codes, which represent the patient diagnosis. That's the first thing that they do, is making sure that they've got those numbers, dialed in so they can get their reimbursements, right? So they give snapshots, of the particular chronic disease or problem without tying together the interrelationships, like I described with social determinants of health, right? So, and furthermore, it's really difficult when you don't own your healthcare records and you have to nudge them along to say, well, let's see, I got this operation for, a colonoscopy at this the aggregation of, in Cerner and Epic, they don't really give you the holistic picture. It just seems like each specialist just looks at their own domain, and they're almost, in many cases, oblivious to how gut health ties to brain health. So, and what you're not going to find, in this journey is the biggest innovation healthcare needs is help people manage their own health with prevention as a service, right, to live healthier, happier lives. So for example, how many people
Yeah.
know that 80% of chronic diseases begin in your gut? 80%. So that's a huge number. And the gut microbiome, right, it impacts besides digestion, it impacts your immune system, your mood. And what a lot of folks don't know is using food as a medicine, right, for the treatment of chronic diseases, Crohn's, colitis, others, with lifestyle intervention, you can kind of like self-manage this rather than just defaulting to what I said earlier. Oh, there's a drug for that. There's a drug for this. There's a drug for that. And when you see people, whether they're, older people that tend to be more on pills, but even I'm going to get to obesity in a second here. But I want to stay on topicality here on gut health. Gut health, wow. I mean, yes, you go to gastroenterologist and the best ones know the connection, the gut-brain connection, right? But literally, there's a recent study that found ultra-processed foods, which the world seems to be eating more and more and more, right, are linked to 32 harmful effects with direct associations of higher risk of cancer, heart disease, and early death. I'll give you some other metrics. It's been estimated we lose 13 years by eating a typical US diet. 13 years. When I don't watch a lot of TV, but all the ads, fast food, ultra processed food, it's craziness out there, right? And furthermore, it isn't,
True.
The ultra processed food isn't just bad for your gut, it messes with your mind.
Yeah.
You had a
And
question.
in fact, our decisions are based on our guts. It is also scientifically proven that whatever we are having a more desire to eat, that is also a decision, a kind of a decision. And it is all because of our gut. We call it gut
Exactly.
feeling. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And, the thing about it is, I mean, each, grouping, like let's pick on the food companies, they have
Yeah.
literally sweetened the world and increased the risk of disease, which really conjures up, is there collusion between food companies and hospital healthcare systems? I mean, it really
Right.
begs a question. It begs a question. And
Yeah.
then you look at, why do so many people in industrialized Western societies have unhealthy microbiomes that lack diversity? You now have to go to like countries in Africa, right? Or, like in Indonesia, to where you still have, diverse microbiomes. And part of the reason is, this whole issue on, I'm not 100% vegan. I'm like 90, but but the benefits of a plant-based diet are, when you stop eating meat, really are beneficial. I've been, as a baby boomer, I've been on the Mediterranean diet because I'm also 100% Italian for, since I was a young kid. And that's why it rules. And no food or medicine can do what olive oil, does as well. So the thing about, so if you want to live longer, influence your genes, along the way, like through your lifespan. And it isn't just, it really comes down to, it isn't just lifespan, it's health span.
Yeah.
Healthiness without health is wealth, right? I don't care how much
Right.
money
Right.
you have. If you don't have health, your
I have
existence is going to be compromised.
Yeah, I have something really out of box right now. I just have got a thought that, do you have any idea till when AI will be that much experienced or beneficial for us to make us live longer? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in terms of longevity clinics. Yeah, exactly. Healthy aging, longevity clinics. But before I get there, I just want to talk about um, the complacency today, and people want quick fixes. And what really bubbles up first and foremost is weight loss pills like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Misurno. Now, they are not a replacement for healthy diet and lifestyle, period. So the active ingredient, semaglutide, right, which is the basis of Ozempic and the other ones, right? When you stop taking it, the weight comes right back. So you're hooked on it. It's like heroin. You're hooked on it, and you stop it, the weight loss come back. But it gets worse. Well, first of all, your body already has a built-in weight loss system that works like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Misurno. But it takes discipline and dedication to eating right in order for it to work correctly. You eat more ultra-processed foods, it's not going to work correctly. It's going to get screwed up, right? So what people are doing is saying, okay, I can get my quick fix, and I'm going to risk the side effects of Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, which could be blurred vision, inflammation of the pancreas and gallbladder, severe stomach and digestive issues, kidney problems, Ozempic face, increased risk of thyroid, loss of muscle mass and reduced bone density, stomach paralysis, suicide, and the FDA says it could also block your intestines. So you're going to take all those risks for the quick fix solution rather than taking a healthy diet, approach and exercise, right? Wow, that's what we're at today. And these marketing, Novo Nordisk and the rest of them are just marketing the hell out of it, and they're getting celebrities and other ones that are just like the echo chamber there. So let's talk about mental health, because it's the World Health Organization revealed that 1 in 2 people globally will experience a mental health disorder in their lifetime. Wow, that's a big number. And the thing is that it's a huge number.
Yeah.
I mean, anxiety, depression, and other more serious forms is really out there today in the world of look at me, social media, everything like that. There's like 20,000 mental health apps, but 90% of them are focused on mindfulness training rather than effectively treating, anxiety, depression, and more. The other thing about, mental disorders is that the way they classify it, like with DSM-5, right? It was flawed to begin with, because it's hard to fit patients into a set of neat criteria, because people usually have a mix of symptoms from different disorders. So if you have, one disorder, you're more likely to have another one, and it gets even worse than that, and this gets back to the sick care patient. Untangling the ties between chronic pain and mental health disorders, right? See, patients seeing primary care physicians, that often mention symptoms associated with mental health. Physicians don't really know how to thread that together. So you need to look at it from, multiple lenses than just looking at doing an assessment of severity of pain, PEG, or depression, PHQ-9, or anxiety, GAD-7, risk of suicide. So you have all these assessments, but it's really hard to thread it together in terms of specifically having intervention to address the particular condition there. So that brings me to methods to enhance well-being, which includes, at the end of the day, mental disorders are brain disorders. And if you can weave in emotional intelligence, which is a strong suit of mine, okay, it offers some hope for healing. And even though some of the large language models claim they have emotional intelligence, it's kind of superficial for the most part. So what, so you asked the question about AI, and this, what is really starting to spring up today are longevity clinics, right? Longevity clinics. Wow, there's a lot of players coming in, but you know what? For what they're charging, it's mostly athletes, executives, high net worth individuals can spend $40,000 to $100,000 a year or more, right, to have personal biomarkers for aging and longevity. What about the other 98% of us? Right? How are there tools out there? And the answer is yes, there are. In fact, I had a discussion yesterday with the CEO of a startup. They're in Hungary, called Magini, Mageni, and what they're just getting started, but they're really looking to deploy their software as a service and apps, okay, for empowered consumers, where you can actually have the same effects of not just the screening and testing, protocols to monitor your health, But what I really like in the discussion I had with them yesterday is really coming up with a personalized care plan for your wellness goals. Where are you going to get a personalized care plan from a hospital healthcare? They're going to give you a one size fits all based on what they've seen. They don't have time to personalize for, recommending lifestyle changes, diet,
Right.
exercise, stress management, sleep, right? Empower individuals to see the benefits. Focus on preventing illness and promoting wellness. Tailor the recommendations. And the one that I really like vis-a-vis with, EMR, EHR, yes, you get your, your Epic or Cerner, treatment plan, but that's just a snapshot. How do you have continuity after you remedy, a spine issue or a issue? You need a personal health tracking tool where you can track your own progress and make adjustments using data and to monitor your own health. And what I really like the trend is going to more use of sensors and wearables. So you have, besides the Apple Watch, the Oura Ring, you're getting other biometric devices where you can measure your progress with easy to understand data. So that's the good news, Sarah, coming out is that there are offerings like this that are coming on to where you as an empowered consumer can use preventative medicine as a service on your own volition through your app or your software as a service. Now, one of the other areas, you had a
Yeah.
question? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. So is there any, thought behind it? Like AI is going to make all of these medical or hospital kind of costs more less in terms of like, the budget is getting really high of when we are going to some hospital or clinic, it gets really out of our hand for the month. Even if you talk about underprivileged countries like us, or even if you talk about US. So how we are going to, see AI helping us around to cut the cost of all of these medical treatment?
Yeah, that's one of the big issues. I mean, the cost savings. Where does it really drop to? In hospital healthcare systems, you have the problem of the middleman, right? They want to, the providers, the payers, and again, they're all driven on, CP2s and ICD-10 codes, right? That's it. But some of these clinics, whether they be a wellness clinic, a longevity clinic, you can pay out of pocket if you really think, right, that it's worth, you know, the, and I've seen some of them that are, that are doing like $250 a month. I don't know what you're really going to get for that. But if you actually have, like I mentioned, with, uh, with, um, uh, with, the company that I just mentioned in Hungary, that's addressing the other 98% of and they're starting to get adoption through. They've done a nice job as far as getting an assembly of partners, and then being able to to offer, like I said, personalized care plans. That's the key thing: personalized care plans with personal health tracking. So yes, I really think that that's the democratization, of AI in healthcare, to where it can be, before you get, a real chronic disease or sickness, where you can actually perpetuate along the lines of prevention as a service for healthier, happier life. One of my engagements that I've been working the past couple of months is with a startup in France called Omega Human. And when I stumbled across them a few months ago, I was intriguing. And what they're using is neuroacoustics. Neuroacoustics is the intersection of sound, brain, and well-being. And it really delves into how sound and music can affect our brain and our nervous system. So the crux of it is that different sound frequencies can influence our emotions, thoughts, and overall health. So this really kind of sets the basis where you can actually promote relaxation like you do in meditation, right? You can boost focus, have more restful sleep, and even mitigate symptoms of neurological disorders. So what neuroacoustics is doing, sound as a therapeutic device, is that it's bridging the gaps between neurology, psychology, acoustics, aiming to, and this is the hard thing, how our nervous system, interprets sound, right? And how you harness that therapeutic process to enhance mental and physical well-being. So what the startup is doing is again like the other company that I alluded to. We're developing a personal co-pilot for inner transformation and personalized mental wellness through neuromodulation. So you'll have a app, okay, that will be your assistant to really help optimize mental health and inner balance. And it will operate with just a pair of headphones and a smartphone. So you can do it anywhere, any place, anytime, how long, right? For different states, So there's a sleep state, there's a flow state, there's one for anxiety. So coming up with like a library, which will be, you can personalize it depending on where you are, and what state of mind you are and it's really an innovative approach. So I'm really excited about this. We'll have more to talk about it once we have an MVP in the very near future.
Yes.
I know we're running on time, so I just have
Yeah.
like two more points that are really important points.
Okay.
And this one, why isn't dental health considered primary medical care? I mean, I mean, it's sick mouth, sick body. And it's like it's like we've been operating in parallel fields, right? But there's so much similarity, between them is, oral health and systemic health that affects the body. So, so, so you've got this, and then if you go to an EMR, the EMR EHRs that are used in dental practices are not the ones that are used in medical. So there's another problem. How you going to aggregate holistic picture, right? So periodontal disease, infection of the gums, right? And it's amazing how too many people either have they don't pay attention to their dental, right? And periodontists has a slew of systemic illnesses like heart attack, strokes, heart failure. It's pretty obvious, right? Like doctors are aware that mouth health is important to body health. And, even physicians or family doctors will say, oh, yeah, if a patient has diabetes, they're going to have bad teeth and gums. Well, what are you going to do about it, right? So that's something that needs to be resolved. The other areas I just want to comment on before we finish here is why isn't the endocannabinoid, system taught in medical school, right? So it's really a key point of where its endocannabinoids are produced by the human body, right, to help regulate critical functions like sleep, eating, processing emotions. That's a big question mark. And the same thing on that ties to the above on naturopathic medicine, right, that treats the whole person, right? So you're talking about acupuncture, electrotherapy. I actually introduced, neuroacoustics in the above. So yeah, so I know we're coming on the hour, Sarah. So how do you want to
Yeah.
wrap this up?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you one question in the end that do you believe that they need to be very, niche that, specified when they are coming with the AI, like in terms that right now we are seeing it working around in whole healthcare sector. Why not they pick one side of it, like even the dental or um, some psychological issues or something like that? Because earlier I think a few days back, I was trying to play with ChatGPT and I was asking it out, some of the questions like why somebody is having anger again and again, what would be the root cause, how we can resolve it, and some these kind of very simple questions. But it was really impressive when it was replying me in a way that ChatGPT was trying to help me out as like a person. So that was something really, uh, it makes me hit in a way that, oh my God, even ChatGPT has those kind of answer. How, in what kind of world we are going to live after a few years? So I was just thinking that is it something like how these healthcare people need to plan, the technology people need to plan out for it? Just target one side of the healthcare or just go with all of the healthcare things and then see that where it is working more better and then we can apply it over there. Do you think will it be something something is it something practical in that term?
No, I think it's an iterative approach, right?
Hmm.
And that's where generative AI, like I said earlier, right? It's enabling
Yeah.
better diagnosis, decision making, and treatment to improve healthcare outcomes. But you have to look at both the forest through the trees as well as the trees through the forest. And again, the way medical systems are set up, specialists are not really known for, communicating to be able to see the holistic picture, which is why I said that in preventative as a service, prevention as a service, thank goodness there's some forward-looking clinics and players like the ones that I mentioned that are, where you can actually, for a relatively, affordable price, like the price for Omega Human for the app will be like $15 per user, per month. And then that's the B2C side. And then for the B2B to C, where mental health players, neurotech, and can embed neuroacoustics in their offering, we're happy to work with them, from a partnership. So I think that, yes, the way forward is more of what you just experienced, like I said, with generative AI, but just be cognizant of that. They're not a panacea. You have to really, you know, specify your particular needs. But I really think the missing ingredient of this whole thing is offering it to empowered consumers that can self-manage their own care rather than just relying on primary care specialists, which they really aren't. They really want to be in the specialty business. So I'll close at that.
Awesome, awesome, brilliant thought. I'm happy to, hear about this kind of conversation today, and I hope that everyone will be so, having a lot more knowledge when they are coming up this session. After watching it out, they will be having a lot more knowledge about the healthcare and the new tech. So thank you so much,
Excellent.
Steve. It was great
Enjoyed it.
having you. It was great talking with you, and hope to see you some other day again with some
For
more knowledge
sure.
about the same.
Well, the way things are moving, we can, every 6 months needs updates because it's moving so fast.
True,
Well,
true,
thank
true.
you. Thank you. I enjoyed it, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Take,
I'll
take
look for
care.
the recording.
Bye.
Okay.
Sure.
Bye
Take
bye
care.
now.
Cognitive computing, another term for artificial intelligence. Let me know if you already knew it. Data augmentation. It's like adding another set of data to make AI more intelligent or progressive. Deep learning. It's a method of AI, but the subfield of machine learning. I hope you might not have heard it, but if you have, then please do comment below.